Righty. So folks, it is 6:01 and we are going to get started. I want to welcome everyone tonight to the presentation for the grades 9 and 10 college, navigating high school, preparing for post-secondary college and careers, a little bit of everything you'll get information for tonight to help your freshman and sophomore try to figure out how to make the best use of their years in high school and how to best prepare for what might come next for them. So my name's Heidi Levitt. I'm the Director of Counseling, and I'll let the rest of our team introduce themselves. We'll start with Mr. Yu.
Hi, I'm Dave Altfelder. I have to, sorry, the beginning of the alphabet, A through F.
I'm Diane McCarthy, and I have the middle of the alphabet, so students with the last name starting G through M.
Good evening, I'm Michelle Farrar, and I have the alphabet N through Z.
Great. So we are live doing this event, and I will be sharing my screen, and Miss McCarthy and the others will be watching along and looking at the chat. So feel free to type in any questions that you may have, and we will do our best to respond to those. So let me expand this and pull up my screen. Give me 1 second.
Okay, chat is open so we can see it.
All righty, fantastic. All righty, as I said, we are the school counseling team, and if you notice that we refer to ourselves as school counselors, this is not the guidance counseling of the 80s and 90s for those of us who are of a certain age. When I don't think I know who my guidance counselor was. I don't think I met him maybe once. I remember dropping packets off for him in his office, in his inbox. But beyond that, I didn't have much to do with him in school. School counselors today have a whole different role than what they did back then. We spend a lot of time doing 504 management. So for students who have education plans to get some extra support and accommodations at school, we meet with those students and we help them work with their teachers. We are a liaison between the teachers and the parents and the student to help make sure that the students can be successful in school. We do obviously a lot of academic planning, college and career planning, lots of social and emotional support. And as you know, students are really struggling in this day and age with the pandemic and the social isolation that they're feeling, and just lots of anxiety, lots of depression. So we spend a lot of our time helping students develop some coping skills for those kinds of issues. And then because we're not mental health counselors, we spend a good portion of our time working with parents and outside supports so that we can refer to resources that are in our community, so that students can have that additional support on the weekends, during the summertime, during school vacations when we're not in session. So our primary role is to do that academic support, provide a little bit of the social emotional support, and help students to get the resources that they need if they need additional help in that area. But our ultimate goal is for every student to find their path for success. And it does look different for every student. So how do we do all of this? We're magical. We spend a lot of time in one-to-one meetings. We are in classrooms. We have small groups, depending on the counselor here. We might have a group of 2 or 3 or 4 students coming up. If we find that they all have the same interests, we might bring them up and talk with them about those interests. We talk with students a lot about their transcripts and what a transcript is, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a couple of minutes. We talk about grades and graduation requirements. We spend some time with students with the program of studies. We're just gearing up now, getting ready to do some course registration. So we've been spending a lot of time in our program of studies, making sure that it's reflective of what our students are interested in, and making sure that the courses that we're offering can help them get to the goals that they have and help them achieve the goals that they have. SCORE, we will be talking a little bit about what SCORE is and how that can be helpful for your children as they get to be mostly juniors and seniors, but we start thinking about it a little bit even in the sophomore year. And then we just do a bunch of different testing. Tomorrow we are getting ready for PSATs for our juniors. We offer a variety of different assessments that Mr. Yu will talk about in just a little bit. So we are pretty busy in the counseling office. We like to say that we're the heart of the high school. So as I said, we are in classrooms at least once per semester for each grade. So for instance, for freshmen, we will be going in soon to do a signs of suicide, a mental health education series. We were in the freshman classes in December talking with them about grades and transcript and how every decision that you make in high school really does have some sort of impact on how you're doing. And if you're choosing not to do certain assignments, it will impact you, and it does have an impact on your future. So we like to educate kids on the choices that they make and how that will help make or break decisions for the future. As I said, we offer small group meetings, doing a lot of career planning, college planning. We have an advisory program here, and I'm sure some of your students have talked with you about their advisory classes, and we provide the social emotional curriculum for the teachers. So when we're in classes, we are providing information about a variety of topics, but we also have a folder that we provide information for the teachers so that they can lead discussions too. So it doesn't just happen when we're in the classrooms. We provide consultation to the teachers so that they can also have some of that social emotional curriculum happening on a regular basis for the kids. And then we do lots of one-on-one meetings with students for a whole bunch of different reasons. And you can see those here. And the interventions is really, we spend a lot of time talking with students and helping them problem solve. If they'll send us an email, I'm failing all my classes, or I really need help. All of a sudden, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. So we'll bring them in and we kind of sit down and break it down and help them really strategize and send emails to teachers, because when they get to that place where they're feeling overwhelmed and anxious, they don't know what the first step is to do to get themselves out of the hole that they may have dug themselves into. So are there any questions, Ms. McCarthy?
There aren't, and I just want to remind everyone who's on the call that the chat on YouTube is open. We will be watching it. I'm actually watching it behind the scenes, and we will get to your questions. If we miss any tonight, we'll get back to you tomorrow for sure.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. McCarthy and she'll take it from here.
Great. So one of the things we just talked to our freshmen and sophomores about, and something that our juniors and seniors are very familiar with, is what is a transcript? And I'll show you one in just a minute for Sanborn Regional High School. But we like to remind everyone that in high school, we all had transcripts. And what that is it's an academic record of everything that a student did in high school. We use them in the school counseling office. Administrators use them as a quick glance of how students are doing. Parents will use them over the summer to see how their student is doing. Secondary schools, the military, they use them to make sure that there's a good academic standing. And on that transcript, it not only shows every single year of courses, but it also shows the credits that a student attained and the grades that they got. It does show their rank as they stand against their peers, which is one number. And then it also shows their GPA, their grade point average, which we'll talk about in a few minutes if you want to go to the next slide.
Sure. Just a note about class rank. We don't typically calculate class rank until the end of junior year.
Right.
So we often will have freshmen and sophomores who are really anxious to know where they stand with regards to their peers, but we don't calculate it until the end of the students' junior years.
Yeah, that number can change so significantly once a kiddo is taking the early college program or AP or any classes. So we hold off.
Can I just add one thing? I know when we were in there with this, when we were in there with the sophomore and freshman, one of the students asked, which I thought was a great question, is disciplinary issues noted on a transcript? If I get a detention, is it noted on there? Are my absences noted on there? And I just want to clarify, as we told the students, that's not noted on their transcript. It's really just their academics.
Great. All right.
So transcript, I don't know how many of you have teenage drivers in the house, but it's used for so many things. It's not just used for college. Yes, that is one of the primary sources. It is used if students transfer from one district to another. It's a way for the new school to see how a student was doing and what level classes they were taking. It is used for a good driver discount. So if you don't have a child who's driving yet, when your teenager starts driving, your insurance is going to go through the roof, and they give you a discount if your student is considered a good student. And that varies from insurance company to insurance company. Trade schools use the transcript to confirm that a student has graduated from high school, make sure they've taken certain classes. Some volunteer organizations actually use a transcript, and that would be some of the bigger ones that students would do as potentially a gap year after high school. Obviously, transcripts are still used for scholarships. It gives scholarship committees an idea of how students did in high school, what their GPA is, how competitive they are. And then we also do find that some jobs will use a transcript. And those are going to be some of the jobs that are looking for more of those career certifications, like an LNA, maybe an EMT, sometimes even organizations like the SPCA requires a transcript because they believe that seeing that kind of consistency in high school in grades is going to be a skill and a trait that can morph into the professional world as well. Next. So this is a transcript. It is hard to see. This is actually a transcript from a student. We have blanked out their personal information, but what you can see here, and I can't really, Heidi, if you want to highlight where the freshman year is, the grades and the credits.
So this would be freshman year here, and then
Yep.
grades, and then credits would be in the next column.
Yep. And then the sophomore year is next to that, junior year below that. And then something you note on the bottom is that seniors are actually reported quarterly. So our students' grades are reported at the end of the school year, once that credit is attained. So once the grades are closed out. However, senior year, we do report quarterly so that colleges can see that, as some colleges will wait until the first semester is over, halfway through the year, to make a decision. Something else to note is that on our transcripts, some people are still kind of like, okay, competency-based education, I don't really get the grading. You can see on a transcript that we actually grade in accordance with what colleges use as the 4.0 GPA scale. So we actually grade on a 1 to 4 basis, and that is actually explained on the transcript itself. It is also explained in our school profile, which can be found on the high school and counseling website. On this transcript, you can also see the weighted GPA, the unweighted GPA, and the rank over to the kind of the center right of the screen.
Diane, do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between weighted and non-weighted GPA?
Yeah, that might be on the next slide, but basically the GPA we have, oh, no, it is on this slide. Okay. So this is a grade conversion to GPA. So what we do is we went a few years ago and said, let's use the same GPA conversion that the College Board uses. So the governing agency that oversees SATs, PSATs, they also do a lot of work with the colleges. And colleges, for those of you who received a college degree, they follow a 4.0 scale. So you can get, from when I was in high school, a D is a 1.0, a C is a 2.0, a B is a 3.0, and an A is a 4.0. We actually do a similar conversion here. We do if you have I'm trying to read the screen myself, but if you have a 2.0 in a class, that equates to a 2.0, a 2.1. If you have a 2.3, you have a 2.2 GPA, a 2.3 GPA, or a 2.4 GPA. So you can convert the grades over to a GPA. Now, what you can note is in this bottom box where it says the passing grade is a 2.0, that's where we are now. And in that bottom box, you can see that students would get if we focus on the 4.0, college and career prep and non-weighted GPA value. Heidi, that 4.0, if you just want to put your mouse there in the second box, down a little bit and to the right. Okay.
Sorry.
Oops. There we go. So this is the GPA if a student got a 3.7 or a 3.8 in class. However, if Heidi moves her cursor down one more box, if they were to take a honors level class, we actually add a 0.5 point onto that course GPA. If they take an AP, a dual enrollment, any college level class, whether it's through Great Bay or SNU or Northern Essex, we actually add a full point onto their GPA. So that is the difference between a weighted GPA and an unweighted GPA. An unweighted GPA just says, what were your grades for all of your classes? A weighted GPA says, what were your grades for your classes according to how, what weighting the class was at. So what level, honors, AP, dual enrollment, college level. The reason we do this is that we know most schools do it, colleges like to see it, and we know that students, when they are in an honors or a college level class, oftentimes they're having to do a much deeper dive into data, or they're moving at a faster pace. So we reward them for the extra work that they're doing by tapping onto their GPA at the as the year closes. So that's why on a transcript, you'll see both an unweighted and a weighted GPA. Next. And no questions so far. So these are the graduation requirements for the class of 2021. And the reason we put on here 2021 is you've probably heard, if you've been watching school board meetings, they are discussing our program of studies, what the graduation requirements look like in accordance with the state of New Hampshire. So that is under review right now, as it always is. Right now it's undergoing some good review at the high school level and with the community. So definitely pay attention to what's going on at those meetings in the community. But right now the requirements, these are all posted out in the program of studies. You must have in order to graduate. And this isn't, we tell the students, it's not taken, it's taken and passed. So you must have 4 years of English. And that's not, creative writing is considered an elective. It's not necessarily the, hold on one second. Okay. It is a traditional senior lit, junior lit, sophomore lit, versus a creative writing or a, I'm trying to think of another one, philosophy, things like that. We just got word the chat is not working. So I'm just trying to communicate that with IT. So sorry for the breakup there, multitasking here. Okay, so they need to take and pass 4 years of English. They need to take and pass 1 year of finer performing arts. So that would be classes like art classes, like digital photography, like woodworking, or like band or chorus. They need to take and pass 2 health and physical education classes. So their freshman year, they take a health and wellness. And then after that, they're required to take 1 Fitness My Way class, which has some classroom component in it where they do certain activities, maybe like CPR, but then they also do the fitness component. They need to take and pass 4 math classes. This is a little confusing for students because we don't require a 4th year of math, their high school year, or their 4th year of high school. What we require is a 4th math or math experience. A math experience is a class that uses everyday math, such as chemistry, financial skills for you, wood shop. So we've got a variety of math experience classes. We do tell our students if they are planning on going to 4 or 2 year college and many trade programs such as HVAC, electrical, we do really strongly recommend that they take a 4th year of traditional math to help them prepare for any exams that they will be taking. Okay, so for anyone who is on the YouTube channel, if you could refresh your page, we just took a look at it and it should be working now. So if you want to refresh your YouTube page and see if the chat is open, go ahead and do that and we'll just keep an eye on it. So for sciences, we do require 3 years of science. 1 year has to be biology and 1 year has to be physical science. For social studies, we do require 3 years of that. That has to be a global studies class, an American history class, and a your government, your money class. You'll hear that referred to as well as government and economics. They do have to take 1 year of technology, which is a computer class. and generally very helpful. Tech 21, so how we use technical skills in the 21st century. Google Apps can get very advanced. And then we have 10 advisory and elective credits. And what those include are things like the world languages. So if your student is looking, they're thinking they're going to go on to a four-year college, they're going to want at least 2 years of a world language. Some colleges require 4. They might really love art and want to take multiple art classes. Maybe they want to do an internship senior year, and so they're going to do that as an elective credit. So there's a variety of options for them to take as an elective to really round them out as students and have them exposed to multiple opportunities. Next slide. I'm just checking the chat.
Yes.
Still-
And just a note about the electives, sometimes students get confused and think that those need to not be core classes. So if you have a student who really loves the sciences, it's okay to fill up their schedule with extra science classes. So they may take every science class that we offer here, and they will fulfill their 3 credits of science requirements. And then any additional science classes would be counted as elective credits, even though they're actually a core class. So kids can be pretty creative with what counts for electives and what counts in the different areas. And
Right. So then we have the New Hampshire Scholars requirements, and this is something that is run by the state of New Hampshire. They basically have recognized that certain states have slightly more rigorous requirements. Hold on. Sorry, word is the chat is still not working, so we're still trying to figure that out. So New Hampshire Scholars basically says there's a few different ways to be a New Hampshire Scholar, but the core way is that you must have the core requirements to graduate. So your 4 years of English, your 4 or 3+1 of math. You need to have 3 lab sciences, which our sophomores and freshmen will have, provided they complete their physical science, their biology, and they take that third. If provided they take that third science in order to graduate, they do need a foreign language. So that's where the world language comes into play. Now, if they do all of that and they have, and they need an extra social studies credit. If they do all of that and they have a minimum of a 3.2 GPA, then they are eligible for the art and STEM or STEAM for New Hampshire Scholars, which is just slightly extra art or science, tech, and engineering or math credits. Then we also have the career pathway requirement, which is a little bit different. That does not recognize or does not require a world language, but it does require certification. So we have students who get their LNA in high school. We have students who get OSHA certified. We have students who get Safe Serve certification. We have a student who got his EMT right before he graduated. So things as well as some, extended learning opportunities, internships, those get you the Career New Hampshire Scholars. New Hampshire Scholars does help in terms of just making your transcript look a little bit more rigorous. So that's why sometimes we suggest to students to do it so that colleges find it more attractive.
And oftentimes you'll find that colleges will, especially the New Hampshire schools, will offer scholarship money associated with New Hampshire Scholars. So if they see that a student has earned that recognition, it automatically qualifies them for certain scholarships at New Hampshire schools only.
Okay, so we actually might be having a problem with YouTube with the chat. So we have someone behind the scenes. Dan is working on it, but we're finding that it might be a YouTube issue. So hopefully it comes up and running. And next slide.
And I think if we can't get it running, we can certainly send out some sort of a Google Doc or something that people could put questions in that we will definitely respond to.
Yeah.
So questions answered one way or another.
Okay. All right. So for resources, this top one, this program of studies, this is our, it's the School Counseling Bible, we'll call it. It is how to graduate high school, how to get honors, how to do the dual enrollment program with any college, how to do early college with Northern Essex, how to graduate from high school in general. So those core requirements that we just went through. What is a math experience? It also covers the different diploma types. So right now we have a couple different diplomas. It goes through each of those. And then lastly, most importantly, it covers what is our course catalog. That is under review at this time. But if you go out to the high school website, you will see the 1920 and the 2021 program of studies. We strongly recommend our students and our families get to know it and really understand what's in there and what courses are offered and what those courses are. A high school sophomore is not going to know what anatomy and physiology is. So the descriptions are in there. We also have our high school handbook. At the beginning of the year, everyone has to sign off on it. I know oftentimes I'm a parent of a high school graduate and a teenager. Oftentimes I'm like, yep, sign. It's actually, the handbook is really good to know. That's kind of how to get through high school on a behavior perspective. And then our school profile, this is a really quick snapshot of what we offer here at the high school. What are our average SAT scores? What is our community about? So colleges use this school profile, as do real estate agents, to understand what type of high school we are. So these pieces of information, that program of studies in particular, can be found out on the high school website or on the school counseling page. Next. And Mr. Yu is up.
Hi, SCORE has replaced Naviance, and it connects prospective students with resources and people that support college discovery and application success. It's very user-friendly and it's well-liked. And I believe references are sent through that, are they not? The references are sent through SCORE. So it kind of does pretty much everything for potential kids looking at colleges. Next.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute while I was looking at chat. So SCORE, the school uses SCORE, the students use it to do other college research and tracking. The school uses SCORE to submit all of the college required documents, like the transcript, the letters of recommendation, school profile, things like that.
Well, this is the next one. All right. I think you heard a few weeks ago with the counselors, we went into all the freshman and sophomore classes, which was quite enjoyable. It included the remote students, which brought challenges but seemed to work. And that was, as came up, discussing, letting the kids know what a GPA was and why freshman year was important and what's on a transcript, graduation requirements, kind of just what we presented tonight to you. They finished by taking the ONET, or a career online exploration, which they seem to enjoy. We like it a lot. By the time they finished it, the ONET suggested a few careers that could fit based on their skill set and their interests. And so kids, it led to some pretty cool conversations and questions. Next. The PSATs, I know the PSAT or practice SATs, all juniors can take in the building. They're actually taking it. Our current junior class are taking the PSATs tomorrow. And the SAT you've probably taken or heard of. I don't know, that's fall of senior year? The first time?
SAT is, yeah, we offer that as the state test for our juniors, but usually that's the first time the kids will take it. And then they may take it again, opt to take it again, either in the summertime before their senior year, or they'll take it in the early fall of their senior year. Each time students take it, they tend to get a better score.
Right.
And that comes purely from practice with taking this type of an assessment, because we don't really give these kind of assessments here at Sanborn on a regular basis. So the students have to kind of get used to these type of questions and doing the multiple choice and the timed assessment, which can be challenging for some kids.
Definitely. And this year is an anomaly for those of you in the community who are hearing that SAT students aren't having to take the SAT to go to college. The class of 2021 has gotten exemptions for most of the college in the United States, that they do not have to take standardized testing in order to be admitted. However, they are having to do other things, like perhaps write a second essay, submit a graded paper, something like that in some cases. So as Heidi said, students nowadays are not necessarily used to standardized testing. So the SAT is something that we tell our students who are college bound that taking it in June as the junior year test, taking it in, I think it's usually March or April, they definitely want to take it more than once. We recommend that they take it again, either in August, maybe even June, September, October of their senior year so that they get the best score they can, because scholarships for colleges also revolve around SATs in a lot of places.
Next.
Next.
Okay.
I think it's
Oh,
And
can I
just-
answer one question about the transcripts?
Sure.
Sure.
We just have a comment. Student achievements in terms of awards they have won over the years are currently not included on the transcripts. That was a question in the chat. So we do not, all we include on there is the factual academic record of here is your grade, here is your GPA, here is your rank, basically everything that's mathematically calculated, but no awards or discipline or anything like that on the transcript.
And just for, again, something that was impacted this year because of the pandemic, typically our 9th graders and our 10th graders would take the PSAT. But because of being remote at the beginning of the year, we did not offer it this year to the 9th and 10th graders next year. So if you currently have a 9th grader, next year our plan, hoping that everything is back to a more typical school year, the current 9th graders would take the PSAT in the fall.
It's the ACT. I know the ACT is an alternative assessment to the SAT. I don't know, is that where you look carefully at the schools that you're interested in and see what they require? And I know that's really been in limbo this last year, but
Yes.
so the kids.
So typically ACT is heavily math and science based, and it's more common for colleges in the Midwest. So if your student is looking at applying colleges outside of New England, definitely make sure that they're not requiring the ACT test.
Can you take them more than once like the SAT, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Specific programs may require that versus the SATs. But like I said, if you're looking outside of New England, you definitely want to make sure that you're checking out their admissions page and making sure that they don't require the ACT. And if they do, make sure that you're signing up for that test.
Right. And rarely do we see schools require both. I know a couple of years ago, Springfield College, for their Doctor of Physical Therapy direct admit program, they were requiring both the ACT and the SAT for admit.
And ASVAB, for assessments, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. I know, I couldn't remember kids that was juniors that took it in late November or early December. A lot of kids chose to take it in person only, right? But I believe, but it was a good number of kids. I know I wrote something that, let's see, there was also some follow-up. There was a person with knowledgeable about the ASVAB that was willing to meet with kids and go over their results. I had a junior come and visit me today and want to talk about her results. It gave some interesting feedback, I think, on sort of where their skills are.
Yeah, the ASVAB is just a really
impressed.
detailed version of the ONET that we do with freshmen and sophomores, and it helps a lot of juniors with their career guidance. And then the military actually sends someone to come and talk to our students about their results.
And,
Yeah,
I want to be clear that it's not just for students who are thinking about going into the military. The
Right.
information that these students get from the ASVAB is fascinating and interesting and helps guide them in maybe taking specific classes or what might they want to do outside of school. So I think all of us have that in our head that ASVAB is strictly for those who are looking into the military.
No, there were some great questions. You're right, Michelle. Mechanical, science, but also verbal, their vocabulary skills. Of course, math was on there. It was I enjoyed looking at it today with that student. It did give a lot of interesting data.
We have some questions in the chat.
Sure.
So first one, a question about GPA. If my college of choice doesn't look at weighted GPA, why would I take those upper level classes? So colleges may not look at weighted GPA. They might look at unweighted GPA, but what that means is that they actually do their own GPA calculations. So they will account for the fact that you took AP, honors, college level classes. So even if they say they're looking at an unweighted GPA, That means that they are then recalculating your GPA and accounting for any weights that they want to calculate. Where we put on our transcripts and in our school profile that we actually add on a half a point or a point, depending on the class level taken, many colleges don't recalculate our GPA. And I hope that answers your question. The other question is, can a parent have a meeting with their child with counseling to discuss planning for future classes and college planning? Ms. Levitt, I'll let you answer this one.
Sure. So we really encourage the students to own their college, their course selection, and their planning process. So initially, we would meet with just the student. Certainly, if you had questions that you wanted us to work into that conversation with them, that we could definitely do that. My own kids, I have 3 kids, and they're all out of high school at this point, and they all were convinced that I knew nothing that I was talking about when it came to guidance, to being a school counselor or the college and career planning process. So I would often email their school counselor to say, hey, can you bring this up? Or, hey, can you talk to them about this? Just because they wouldn't listen to it from me. But we would definitely be open to, if you felt like there was something you really wanted to make sure, or you had some questions after we had done the initial planning process with your child, if that was something that you wanted to do, you could certainly come in and request a meeting with your child's school counselor. We, when the students choose their courses, we send that home with them, and we ask that you look that over and that you sign off on that and return it back to school, because again, they take that initial step. We talk with them a lot about, don't choose classes based on what your friends choose classes based on what interests you. But we obviously want them to have those conversations with you as a parent, because as parents, we may have one vision where our children are going ahead, but they may have a whole different plan for themselves. And so that allows you to start having those conversations at home.
Can I add something to that, Ms. Levitt? I think it's really important when parents do request to have meetings with the school counselor and their student to help pick out classes. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to rely heavily on what their teachers recommend, because I may not know them, how they are in a classroom setting per se. So I think it's really important that the students look at the program of studies, listen to us when we come in to talk about the classes, and then they have to meet with their teachers to get their teachers' recommendations. So I have found that the teachers' recommendations, I really rely on.
Absolutely. And teachers will recommend students for different level courses. So those students who really want to be taking honors level classes really need to demonstrate that they have the ability. And it's not always just on how smart you are. It's what is your students' work ethic like? Are they able to take it to that deeper level? Are they able to get their work in on time? Are they always seeking for more information, or are they happy with just this kind of the status quo? So if you really are encouraging your child, or would like to see your child taking honors classes, those are the kind of things that you should be talking with your child about doing, because they need to demonstrate those skills to their teachers, who will then make those recommendations. And teachers make recommendations for English classes, for math classes, science classes. So they have one-on-one consultations with all of our freshmen and sophomore. They all take the same science class. They can take it at the honors level if they've demonstrated that ability. But once they're getting to that junior year, so parents of 10th graders, if your child really wants to travel down a certain path, make sure that they are expressing that to their teacher, because their teacher is going to ultimately recommend them for that. And if they're wanting to take a chemistry class, they really need to be demonstrating good, solid skills in math in order to be successful in chemistry. Mm-hmm. If you want to take anatomy and physiology, having a good mastery of vocabulary and being able to understand advanced vocabulary, because there's a lot of medical terminology. So those skills that you wouldn't maybe think about playing into the course selection certainly play into course selection. So there's a lot that goes into choosing courses for the next school year.
And I also want to add something that you can empower your child to do as well, and yourself as parents, is every single college has an admissions page. So you could go to the University of New Hampshire, you could go to Boston University, you could go to Dartmouth College, and you could click on their admissions tab and you can see what are the requirements for my student to go there. You're going to see that they're different from school to school. So like Dartmouth strongly recommends that a student takes calculus and 4 years of a world language. UNH says we'll take 2 or 3 years of a language and we want 4 maths, and it has to be algebra 2 at the very, very least, depending on the program you want. So every person can go to a handful of colleges' websites, their admissions page, and say, go ahead and look at what's required. I know I have my teenagers, I have one who wasn't really interested in doing that. So I did that with them. And then the other one was, I showed them where that was and they took it and ran with it starting their sophomore year so they could do their class planning. So that's definitely an opportunity to do at home too.
Are we ready to move on or do we have
We
more?
are ready. That's it for questions so far.
All right.
Okay, so NEAF, we often refer to it as NEAF, but it's actually the New Hampshire Higher Education Association Foundation, and we work very closely with them. They provide several free resources for us and for families. I would strongly suggest that you get on Facebook and like them, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Instagram. They are a plethora of free resources and information. So I think, financial aid, we talk a little bit about that in a minute, but the big thing with NEAF is that you will find them so helpful when it comes to filing the FAFSA, because we are not trained accountants and you certainly don't want us looking at your personal banking statements. So like I said, please make sure that you are following NEAF and getting updates about when they're coming to the school to do their presentations. Next, sorry. So I'm not gonna read every bullet. I'm sure you already heard us say that we were just in the freshman and sophomore classes doing some career explorations. And with that, they were required to fill out a Google document to let us know that, make sure that they took this ONET. And then we asked them to give us 2 jobs that came up that were of interest to them. And then we also asked them to put some input on what type of classes do they think they might be interested in taking their junior and senior year. So again, really looking for what students are interested in. Well, also talk to your kids about that. How many of them came home and talked to you about doing the ONET career exploration? We recently, I think it was last week as well, we had the SST presentation. Did any of your students come home and talk to you about SST, and have any of them express some interest? I know for me, I've only so far seen 2 applicants on my caseload. So check out the Seacoast School of Technology website for more information about that. I know applications are due February 5th.
Really quickly, Heidi, do you want to talk about the course selection, the timeline? We have a couple questions about that.
Sure.
Just while Michelle's on this slide for sophomores and freshmen.
Yep. So course selection this year will be similar to how we've done it in years past for those who are sophomores. It will be online. It will be through a portal in Alma because Alma will be our scheduling tool for next year. So students will have all the counselors back in the classrooms again, and it'll probably start the second week of February. With the first week of February, all of the advisors are going to be doing kind of like a little bit of a road show of the electives that we offer here at Sanborn. So what are all the different kind of art classes that you can take? What are the different business classes you can take? What about science classes? What might you be interested in social studies? So we offer a lot of different classes here. And I think oftentimes our students kind of get stuck in, oh, what did my friends choose? What did my older sister choose? And they don't think for themselves. So there's going to be an opportunity to see what kind of technology classes are offered. And the teachers are going to be trying to sell their electives to students. So we've challenged them to make them interesting, to put it out there so that students really know everything that we have to offer here at Sanborn, and that they can then choose classes that really interest them. So that will probably start the second week of February. We'll be starting with juniors and then working our way down to freshmen. It doesn't matter that freshmen will come later because there are classes that juniors can take that freshmen can't take, and the computer automatically loads things. So it's okay. Don't worry that your freshman student won't get a class that they want, because freshmen will get classes that are available to freshmen, and upperclassmen will be taking classes that are only available to them. And then once we get the course registration all in, and like I said, we'll send it home to you. You'll have to, I believe this is a new system we're using, so I think that it's all done online this year, that you'll log in and you'll approve the classes that your children have chosen. And then we'll go in and we start building the master schedule based on what the kids have chosen. So that process should all be wrapped up right around February vacation. As long as we're staying in school and we don't have a lot of snow days, we should have all of that done either the week prior to February vacation or the week right after February vacation. And then students will receive their schedule. So they'll receive a list of classes that they're registered for. And then they'll receive their schedule right before school year starts up again. So I know they all get super anxious and they want to see which teachers they got and what classes did they get into. But the process is actually a pretty long process that truly does take the majority of the summertime to make sure everybody has exactly what they need in order to meet their goals. So anything you want to add to that process?
No, I do want to add that Michelle had mentioned the SST presentation that was for sophomores. The freshmen did not get the SST presentation. It was done for sophomores during is it advisory?
It was during,
Yeah, so
I think.
that was for both remote and students in person. What SST has found is that students who go there as sophomores, they do have a harder time with it. So they've had the program virtual tour for sophomores only this year.
But that being said, though, sophomores are eligible to take an SST course. So if that's something that you think your ninth grader is interested in, they should definitely be logging into it's Seacoast, it's sau16.org. And then you choose the schools, and then you can choose the Seacoast School of Technology as a dropdown. And you can look at the programs that they offer. They offer everything from pre-engineering and biotechnology to animal science, to building trades, welding, automotive, childcare, a whole bunch of different programs, things that we aren't able to offer here that often many of our students find very interesting. And sophomores are able to take the classes, and it does work with the sophomore core classes that they must take here at Sanborn. Are we ready for next?
Yep, that'd be great. Okay, so in your junior year, we have our big college and career kickoff in February. Each junior will be required to come to at least one college and career lab, and that usually starts in March or April. Sometimes students come more than once, and sometimes we're chasing kiddos down to attend, but we do require that every junior attend at least one. And then for those who are four-year college bound, believe it or not, we in your junior year are going to assign you some summer homework just to make your life a lot easier when it comes to the fall, so that you're much more prepared and ready for that very quickly approaching November 15th deadline. And over the summer, I know you probably think the counselors maybe have the summers off. We really continue to keep working through the summer, and we check transcripts to make sure that you have classes that you need to graduate, and that if you failed a class, that we've got you all set up for some credit recovery. Next. And then senior year, we'll have one of these nights, but we'll be in person, I'm assuming, and I'm certain of that. And that usually kicks off in September. And then each senior is required to meet with their counselor one-on-one to sign their senior contract. And that typically happens in September, October. And then You also are required, once again, to come to one college and career lab, and that's just so we can make sure that we're on track as far as where you want to apply, if you're applying, if you don't want to apply to colleges, what is your plan? How can we help you figure that out? But it's also a good time for us to check your grades and make sure that you're passing the required classes. And then in October, we have NEEF. They will be coming to talk about financial aid support. I talked briefly about that. You definitely don't want us counselors doing your financial aid package with you.
Right.
And then NEEF comes back in November and does this really super cool, amazing I Apply Day. And it's just for Sanborn students. They can apply on that day to any of the New Hampshire colleges, schools, and universities for free because of NEEF. With NEEF's help. And then again, NEEF will come back out in March of your senior year to help you figure out all those letters you've gotten in the mail and help you figure out what does it really mean, like what is your awards and how much, basically how much money is it going to cost, and how to figure out which college is the best fit for you and your family financially, but also for your student and their interest. Next. So can't say this enough. Parent involvement is huge. I know oftentimes maybe we think, well, they're 18 or they're a senior or they're a junior. They probably need you more now than ever. We really want you to, check their grades starting their freshman year, make it a habit. Make sure that you have your login information. Make sure that you're getting Mr. Stack's Principal Weekly Newsletter. There's so much information in there. And if you aren't signed up for that, you're missing a lot of information. And then, of course, I know you're getting overwhelmed right now, especially with what's going on in the world. I feel like you're probably getting more emails than normal, but please make sure that you're going through the emails. You're not ignoring any or just deleting them, thinking they're repeats or something. And then if you have concerns about your students' grades, it's really important for you to reach out to the teacher, or if you're concerned about missing assignments or if they're not doing their work, but any sort of classroom question you might have, it's imperative that you reach out to the classroom teacher because they're the ones that are going to know. And it's great that you reach out to us, but again, we're just going to refer to the classroom teacher. So just make one less step for you folks and reach out to the classroom teacher sooner than later if you're having concerns. Familiarize yourself, and we told the students that too. The program of study is literally everything you could possibly need to know or want to know about Sanborn High School. And when we went in to teach last week or two ago, the student handbook, a lot of the students had no idea what was even in the student handbook, but yet they signed it. And check out the school profile. All of that is available on our website. And I always like to say it's never too early to go on college tours. And right now, a lot of them and most of them are virtually, but it's still, it's getting your feet wet in the whole college tour process. And then talk to your kids. Kids hopefully will talk to you about their grades. What are they thinking after they take, after they took the ONET? What are they thinking after they take the ASVAB? Or what are they thinking after they took the PSATs? And you know what? They may not know, or it might change. And it might change quite a few times, but keep those conversations going and open and checking in on your kiddos. And then there's all sort of job shadowings as an option. So we've excused kiddos who want to do a job shadowing day somewhere. I mean, there's just so many ways to kind of weed through what your students' interests may be. And then again, talk to your students, ask them specific questions. Next. Questions, and this is available right on YouTube. So if you missed something, or if you weren't able to attend, or you hopped on and got kicked off or whatever, logged off, you can go and view this on the YouTube channel.
I think, Michelle, I just want to echo what you said, because a lot of parents, when their students get to high school, their parents are like, okay, they made it to high school.
this is when your kid they are learning to drive. They are able to go out and do things. They are not at home as much. They are in their room more.
They're
Versus
getting jobs, they're working.
Yes. Feeling like I'm almost an adult. I don't need to share with my parent as much. So really ask those specific questions. Help them manage their email. We have so many students who are like, I don't even look at my email. I get too many. It's overwhelming. We as adults have grown through the process of reading our email and learning how to manage our email. They got slammed into it really fast. It is different than Snapchat and Twitter and texting. And they need help managing that, definitely. So that is just, a couple of tips. So there's 2 questions in the chat, both about Northern Essex classes.
So funny. I was just going to bring up Northern Essex because I realized we don't have a slide on here about it. So the students who are currently grade 10, we are going to be starting the Northern Essex interest program very soon. So there'll be another presentation where we'll talk more in depth about the Northern Essex program, and we'll actually have someone from Northern Essex who will come out and co-facilitate that presentation with me. But in a nutshell, the Northern Essex program is an early college model program. So it is students would take classes in a typical world, would be taking classes on the Northern Essex campus. And they would take 2 classes in the fall. They can take 2 classes in the spring. They can take classes in the summertime if they'd like. They can take as many classes as they're interested in. If they want to just take classes during the school day, it does fit into our school schedule. They can take additional classes in the evening. We've had students who are doing that. I have 2 students, or actually 3 students right now, who are about 3 or 4 classes away from earning their associate's degree while they're in high school. My own son did this program. It was incredible. He started his 4 years at college as a second-year sophomore. He did it through his high school. It's a tremendous savings. The classes cost about $123 per credit as opposed to about $375 per credit. So for those of you who know anything about college, it's super ridiculously expensive. And if you can knock out those gen ed classes, those English 101s and English 102s that are required for every major, whether you're going to be a doctor or a nurse, an engineer, or you're going to be a counselor, you have to take English 101, you have to take English 102, you have to take a humanities class, you have to take a math class. You can get all of those classes at a pretty significantly discounted rate. And then when you're transferring to college, those transfer classes will go with you for the most part. Now, I can't guarantee that they'll go to certain private colleges. You have to work with Northern Essex in the college. So if you wanted to go to, say, a private college in Indiana, then you would need to work with Northern Essex and that private college in Indiana to make sure that there's an articulation agreement that they'll accept those credits from Northern Essex. But most of the colleges in New England are very familiar with the early college program, and they're very familiar with Northern Essex. Northern Essex is one of the community colleges that started these early college programs, and they're a front runner. They're constantly being recognized for how creative they've been with their programming. So the way students can start that process is they would need to take the Accuplacer to see if they test into it. So they have to take an English and a math Accuplacer, even if they're not planning on taking any math classes over there. Some of the science classes that they need to take, that they can take, require that math background as well. So we will be having an information night. Anyone's welcome to try the Accuplacer. You don't need a teacher recommendation for it, because again, quite honestly, my own son, who would not have, I think, set the world on fire. He wasn't a top-notch student in high school. He was definitely middle of the road kind of kid, and he did amazingly well over at the Northern Essex program. It was a challenge for him, but he definitely enjoyed it and really liked the opportunity to be off of the traditional high school campus and be someplace else. Many of our students, our current seniors, they're our first cohort. And that's, I think, what I've heard most from them is that they loved the opportunity to be on the Northern Essex campus. They loved to be in classes with students who weren't just Sanborn students, because during the early college course time, so it's from 12:30 until 2, we have a bus that brings students there and brings students back. It doesn't cost anything for the bus. You do have to pay for the courses, but the bus is free. They loved to be in classes with students from Haverhill and with students from Pentucket Regional and kids from Timberlane, kids from Lawrence, kids from Amesbury. They really got to expand their perspectives, and they really absolutely enjoyed being in group work with people who had just very different growing up experiences than what they did, and it really enlightened them. And once a student is on the Northern Essex campus, they have a Northern Essex ID, they're able to use the library there, they're able to use the gym there, the CAF, the technology center. They can join some of the clubs and activities there. So it's really, it provides them a very unique experience while still having the safety net of high school, because we have a person who is the high school liaison. So she sends me progress reports from the professors. So they're getting to do college classes, having all of those classes weighted at the dual enrollment or the AP level, but also having the safety net of high school. So having the opportunity to have somebody say, hey, you're not doing well in this college class, I'm going to email your mom. That doesn't happen in real college because the professor doesn't care about emailing your mom. So kids get to try out college while they're still in high school. It's a fantastic opportunity if you want to talk with your child about that, and then come out on the night that we have the information session and hear more from the Northern Essex person. And then ELOs and internships, I wanted to touch on that briefly as well. We didn't talk too much about that. ELOs are extended learning opportunities. And ELO is kind of like an umbrella, and internship falls underneath that. So an ELO might be an independent study where a student says, you know what, I've taken anatomy and physiology, but I really want to do something with radiology. So I want to take my anatomy and physiology knowledge and now go a little bit deeper and learn more about radiology. Or it might be an internship where I'm really interested in accounting, and I'm going to go work at a local business in their accounting department and work with a supervisor who is an accountant who will help teach me kind of the tools of the trade and learn all about all aspects of that industry while I'm still in high school and earning credit for it. Many of our internships are paid. Miss Allie is the teacher here at the high school who coordinates all of that, and she will help find students internships in all kinds of different industries. And we have internships for everything from firefighting and archaeology to nursing. And we've had students who are doing architecture and machine shop, pretty much anything that a student can be interested in. If they come in and talk with Miss Allie about it, she will help them find something that will help them head down that path. So again, they can figure out, I have an interest in this. I'm not quite sure that's what I want to do, so I'm going to explore it a little bit more. I'm going to take a class here at Sanborn that's like a non-traditional class and figure out if this is really what I want to do. And guess what? Here at Sanborn, this is free, versus if they wait to do that and then they go to college and then they're spending $3,500 for a class and they get into it and then they're like, this is not really for me. Not so much. So it's a great opportunity, again, to figure out what do you want to do and what path do you want to travel down while you're in high school. And that was a lot of information really quick.
We do have a question in the chat that I think I could probably answer. It's, does Northern Essex Community College take the place of a traditional AP curriculum? A lot of our students are finding that they are preferring to take the college level courses over advanced placement courses, because most colleges only accept advanced placement classes as a college level class if the student scores now a 4 or a 5 on the exam. They're beyond the level 3s and 2s. A college level class like Northern Essex or Southern New Hampshire University, those will be accepted as college credits at a college. So a lot of our students find that for almost the same amount of money, they actually prefer to take the dual enrollment program at Northern Essex or the early college program
or taking things like anatomy and physiology, Southern New Hampshire University, or sociology SNU. So it's almost we still offer AP courses, but we're offering more college courses, I would say, than we did 5 years ago. Would that be right, Heidi?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's because students have become smarter consumers. They know that it's a guarantee. And the AP test, the AP program is great. It definitely teaches students a lot of work skills and skills to go deeper in their knowledge and really challenge themselves. And those are all skills that they'll need in college. But I think the credit is based on how do you do on that one day when you take that one test. So if
Right.
you wake up and you've got a sinus infection and you've done great in your class and you've gotten a 4.0 in your class or 3.5 in your class all year long, and you wake up and you have a sinus infection on that day, you're not going to do well on that test. And so you're not going to earn the college credit.
Right.
So I think the smarter consumers have just realized that the college classes are a better bang for their buck.
And that answers that question. As of right now, there are no other questions in the chat.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing our screen here.
There we go.
We certainly appreciate you folks spending the night with us. And if you have any other questions, you know where to reach us. You know how to have your students reach out to us and ask us. And we're okay if you're CC'd on the email, but we love to get those questions from the students, helping them really, even as freshmen and sophomores, start to own their education and be in charge of their destination. Because at some point, moms and dads, and this has been hard for me as my kids are all
And me.
18, and Miss Kathy has been, and Miss Farrar is experiencing it this year, and Mr. Yu has recently experienced it as well.
Yeah.
Once they hit 18, it doesn't matter. We really have no say over what they're doing. So help them start to own the process now so they can
Right.
see how to do it so that when they are 18, they're not lost. Any last words from you folks?
No, other than we're happy to hear from the students. We're happy to hear from the parents. It's all good.
Yeah, good work.
All right, folks, we're going to leave you and have a good night.